Welcome to Channel 9. My name's Marc Kean. I'm an Azure MVP, and with me I've got Stephane.
Hi, Mark.
Hello.
How you doing?
What are you?
I'm an Azure MVP as well.
Oh, fantastic.
Just like you.
Awesome. And where do you work?
I work at Vigilant IT based in Sydney,
Really?
Australia.
So
I know.
do I. I work
Funny
at Vigilant
that.
IT as well.
I thought I saw you before. It's funny.
All right, so what are we talking about today? I think we're talking about, let me guess, copying data to USB drives.
No, we might do that next week.
Right.
I think this week we'll just do Azure Site Recovery.
It's
Much easier.
It's a bit of an advancement from copying data to a USB drive, because that USB drive could fail.
That's exactly right.
All right, let's get right into it. So what are we looking at?
Well, Azure Site Recovery. So what is it first? Quick overview. I know people have probably heard about it so many times, but Azure Site Recovery is basically allowing you today to create this disaster-free environment for a fraction of the cost that it used to cost you, in the past. Used to be very expensive to have your own data center, etc., etc. So now today, you can actually do it for pretty much nothing.
Right.
It's
nothing?
Well, it's free for the first 31 days. So technically for the first 31 days, yes, literally nothing.
What do you get out of it? What's the benefits of Azure Site Recovery for 31 days?
Okay, so the first thing is basically the ability for Azure Site Recovery to either manage your existing data centers. So if you already have a secondary data center, you can fail over from one to the other, and Azure become your management console.
Like an orchestration level at the top?
Exactly right. Or what you can also do is just, if you don't have a secondary data center, is go from on-premises to Azure.
Right.
But the beautiful thing about it is that you can not only do that with Hyper-V, you also can do it with VMware or even physical servers. What
about Google Cloud, AWS, Alibaba, or anything else?
Same thing. You can do it from Amazon, from any cloud out there. You just consider your virtual machine as physical servers, and you can fail them over to Azure if you want to.
Great.
How good is that, right? So today what I want to do was to basically focus on one component of Azure Site Recovery, which is the test failover.
Right.
Why the test failover is most companies out there, they
can't do it.
That's right. It's such a hardship to actually test that they have a process for disaster recovery, but they never test it.
The process is probably about this long. It's
That's
massive,
exactly right.
And it's written by somebody who's left the company, somebody who reads it, it's out of date. And then trying to do a successful test, they can't do it.
You just can't do it.
And all of a sudden, a disaster strikes and gone.
Exactly.
Right.
So I thought today I'll just quickly, because it's a fairly fast demo and we have limited amount of time, I'll show you a quick test failover.
Fantastic.
So let's jump onto the Azure console. Now the first thing you need, and I'll run you through that while the demo is running because it takes a while to actually fail over a virtual machine, is a Azure Site Recovery Vault, basically. Now, once you created that and you've established all your connections, and I'll show you that, you can basically, at the click of a button, just fail over a virtual machine. Now, let me show you what I'm going to fail over. I'm connected onto my Hyper-V server, which is on premises. And on that Hyper-V server, I've got a SQL server running there, ASR SQL demo.
Yep.
So basic SQL server, and again, it's you can do much more with that, but as a basic demo, this is what I want to show. So let's just quickly create a new record in that table.
Good idea.
So we can show that it's not smoke and mirrors; it's actually live data.
And so what's happening now that you created that table, and is it going to sync that up to Azure, I'm guessing?
That's right. So the synchronization, and I'll get into it as soon as I started the actual failover, the synchronization can be determined by yourself. You can either have 30 seconds, you can have 5 minutes, you can have up to 15 minutes, basically.
Okay.
So right now I've got this set up for 30 seconds, which means that within 30 seconds that data is just going to get replicated, and that's the maximum amount of data.
10, 9,
Right
8.
now you can see it replicating there.
Right.
So now if I go back to the Azure console and simply drill down, you can see here we have a few type of failovers, and I'll come to that. Let's just start the test failover. All I have to do here is basically let the system know what Azure network I'd like the virtual machine to be connected to.
You mean the virtual network?
That's right, virtual network. Why? Because, well, it's a test, so you don't want to mess that up with production. And click OK.
Okay, so while this is doing the test failover, you're going to flick across this to a separate virtual network to what production's attached to.
That's right.
And so that separate virtual network would be isolated, I'm guessing.
Exactly. So it doesn't communicate at all with my production.
Okay.
And as you can see here, Azure Site Recovery has not touched my actual production SQL server. It's still there. I can still add new records in there. There's absolutely no issues there.
So what's the other option if I want to say to do a failover, a test or a failover to say a VNet which is not isolated, a VNet which is covered or connected to my on-premise network by ExpressRoute or say site-to-site VPN, for example?
So there's really two other failovers that you can do. You can do a planned or unplanned failover. Mm-hmm. Now this is the issue where a planned would be, I know I need to failover because I want to do some maintenance, important maintenance. I need to shut down my service for a week, for example. Mm-hmm. I can just failover. Planned failover. Unplanned failover, if a disaster strikes, then you just quickly switch over, basically.
Yep.
It can be anything from your entire data center being down,
yep,
which is rare, let's face it,
yep,
all the way down to one of my servers just got infected by a virus and I just need to quickly switch it over.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's a full protection no matter what.
That's exactly right. Now, how do you set that all up? And that's the easy part, because at the end of the day, all we're trying to do here is to create a very simple process whereby you set it all up, and when a disaster strikes, all you have to do is click a button.
Okay.
Right. So in the Azure console, to do that, if we just go back a step, in my site recovery vault, you can see here I've got the site recovery in the getting started, and it's a simple 3-step process to actually set up a complete disaster recovery environment. In step 1, you just prepare your infrastructure. So you determine what server, what Hyper-V server I want to connect to. Am I doing on-premises to on-premises? Am I doing Hyper-V to VMware, etc., etc.?
Or AWS, for example.
Or AWS.
Yep.
Yep. So in that case, you'd select a physical machine.
Yep.
Once you're done with that, you just simply follow the 5 steps here, which is going to basically prepare you on-premises. There is an agent that needs to be installed on your Hyper-V server that will communicate back with your vault.
And that takes care of all the virtual machines on that host?
That's correct, yes. So once the agent is there and communicates back with HTTPS, that's
mm-hmm.
all it needs, you can then see all the virtual machine connected to the host. For
Fantastic.
example, if I show you now here the step number 2, which is to start the replication of the new virtual machines, you can see here that I've got my server connected. You need to configure the target, of course. You select where you want to go in terms of storage accounts, in terms of network, where you want to connect to. And finally here you can see all the virtual machines that are currently running on that same Hyper-V host that I've showed you earlier. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, the one I've already protected is not in there.
Yep.
Because it's
obvious
already
reasons,
protected.
Yep.
Once that's done, it's done. All you have to do is the replication will start. The initial data will get seeded to the actual cloud,
yep,
to your vault,
yep,
and it's protected.
So it really is child's play. I mean, would I recommend my 5-year-old son running through all the steps? 1, 2, he can count.
There you go. I think you should try it. I reckon you should try to get him to do it. That would be a great case study.
Yeah.
My 5-year-old can do this. So once you've done that, and I don't know if you saw the message, but a message just popped out saying the failover is waiting for user action. Mm-hmm. Now, this is because your virtual machine has now been created in Azure, mm-hmm, has been failed over as a test, and is now ready for you to test basically on it.
All right.
So if we look into the actual virtual machines, you can see now I've got an ASR SQL demo test here.
Yep.
And that is basically my virtual machine from my original site to here. Now, a quick side thing to this demo is that I don't have a public IP address. So if I want to connect through the Azure portal, I need to quickly go and add a public IP address. So for the one out there
that makes sense,
don't know how to do that, how to create a PIP, you simply go into the interface, into the IP configurations. Mm-hmm. You go onto the actual interface and you enable a new IP address right there. So
the other way you could probably do this is if you're failing over to a virtual network and you've got another virtual machine on that same virtual network, you could essentially connect to that virtual network on that virtual network, and then hop across on the internal leg.
You could do that as well, yes.
Right.
The idea behind this is that because we're talking about potentially enterprise connection, so you would at least have, although you don't have to, you would at least have a VPN connection back to Azure, so that when you fail over, you actually always have access internally with your internal IP address, which is a more secure way to access your virtual machines.
Great.
All right. So now that we almost have a public IP address, and we do, let's go back to the actual virtual machine. And we should be now able to connect to it. There it is. Okay. And now if I can remember my password, and I'm sure I'll be fine. So while we connect to this, let me talk to you quickly about what we call recovery plans. Now, I've done a very simple failover, which is just the one virtual machine, but your entire process can actually be automated in a way whereby you can create an actual sequence of virtual machine on how to connect to how the virtual machine will be failed over. So for example, you can say, well, I've got a bunch of domain controllers here, and I've got a bunch of SQL servers and some web servers.
Okay.
You can go, well, I really want my domain controllers to be up and running first.
That makes sense.
Then do my SQL server, then do my front end.
Because otherwise you won't be able to log on to your SQL servers and all the other servers because the domain controller won't be there.
That's exactly right.
Makes sense.
So through the use of recovery plans, you can actually do that and create a sequence into your disaster recovery plan. So in the end, instead of just failing over one virtual machine, you can, on a Sunday afternoon at the beach when your boss calls you and go,
literally,
the data center is burning down. No problem, just pick up your phone, log on to the portal and click recovery plan start.
I'm guessing it's a waterproof phone because you're probably in the water at this time.
That's right, that's exactly right.
Your phone rings underwater, you can sort of hear it coming through the water.
Absolutely. So through the use of those recovery plans, you can then automate your disaster recovery and create as many recovery plans as you want.
Great.
Right? So back onto the server.
Let's check out the entry I added before.
That's exactly right. That's exactly
just to make sure
there's
no smoke and mirrors.
Here it is. We've got our demo table here, and if we select drum rolls, this is where you fingers crossed for the demo gods, of course. We should see that we've got a wonderful date today, which is the 12th of November.
And there it is. Fantastic.
And voila.
That's beautiful. Thanks,
this is how we do disaster recovery tests in ASR in a nutshell, basically.
Okay, so if you want to give the folks some information on the best way to get started with this, because we've talked about the benefits, we've talked about how much money it can save you. It's free for 31 days.
That's right.
They can use it for both protection of their on-premise workloads, or they could use it as a migration tool.
As a migration tool to Azure,
a free migration tool.
Within 31 days.
And I think the other good thing about this is if you've got a whole bunch of VMs running in AWS, you can move them up to Azure by using this tool.
That's right.
Which is like sounds magic to me. So
absolutely.
If I was somebody who have a lot of servers on premises, my virtual machines are running, and I don't have a secondary data center, or maybe I do, and I've got a disaster recovery plan which is about this long, and look, I can't make sense of it because the person that wrote it's left the company, it's out of date. How can I get started? Just go to
www.azure.com to start with. Have a look at Azure Site Recovery. We can, of course, help you. You know, as MVP, we're always part of that community to actually help people get this going and get this sorted. So it's really easy. It's very simple. One thing I needed to add is, after the 31 days, you do not pay for the actual virtual machines resources that you may fail over later. You only pay when you fail over. So right now, my virtual machine, which is there, is we paying for it.
Okay.
But only as I started the failover.
Right.
Not as soon as I finish the failover.
Makes sense.
That's right. Which, coming back to that, is now completed. So now that I've done my test, and I'm happy that my failover is actually working, if we go back to the actual job that was running to actually fail over, we can complete that job. And what that will do is, if you can see here, waiting for input. What that will do basically is tell the system, yeah, I'm done now.
Testing successful.
It's all good. I'm happy. See, complete the test. I'm happy. I'm going to give my reason. I'm happy.
Does anybody read these little messages?
Well, the little messages are actually quite good to read.
It's just for your own notes?
Well, it's also if you have procedures and processes or controls for ISO purposes.
Right, and
you can actually prove that you've done a test recovery. Once you click OK, you see here it's going to start a delete failover environment.
And reverses the whole thing.
And reverse the whole thing. So it hasn't touched production, but now it's going to go and delete your entire virtual machines.
So you won't get charged for it.
That's right. So you don't get charged. You're done with your recovery plan.
Okay.
Off you go. And how many clicks did I do? 5.
We've got it done
to actually test it.
Hardly any time whatsoever.
It's fantastic.
So job done.
Get onto it, I reckon.
Process that would have taken probably a whole night or a whole weekend before has taken us literally around about 10 minutes for today.
That's right.
So Stephane, thanks for coming on.
No, thank you, Marc.
So Stephane Budo, Azure MVP, and I'm Marc Kean. I'm another Azure MVP. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching.